All right, what is up, guys? Back for vlog number 3 of the day. If you didn't check out my 2 other vlogs, I just felt a massive surge of creativity on my way to ice hockey, so I decided to vlog it and kind of go this more off-the-cuff style of riffing without writing these things down, going over things I see online. And I was just talking before, and I did another one on the way home, and at the end of that video, I was going in pretty detailed about like where I'm at currently with content creation. And I was like, you know what? I'm just going to go home and set it up. So none of my roommates are home right now, and I can just take up the living room, which truly has like the best. I've been recording in my room because it's the only thing I can get like consistently dark. Thankfully it's night out, but this is like kind of the coolest backdrop in space, and I love it here. So I'm going to use it to my advantage while they're gone. So let's get into it. Something I've been wanting to do is kind of do like some reaction style videos, we'll call them, but more so just like take content that people are already creating and then share my perspective on it. I think with content, especially like the type I want to make, it's like people want what I have to offer is my perspective on some common topics, and whether that's shedding light into a nuanced part of a well-known topic or giving you some topics and things and perspectives that maybe you've never heard before, and diving into my own thoughts on it. And the purpose of this podcast is really called Evolving Thoughts because it's something that I'm very passionate about in terms of just like, you're never right and you should learn more. And by having more better ideas, challenging them, steel manning other arguments, straw manning your own argument, having conversations, talking about some of these things. Like the first one we'll get into is something that I've talked about for a while in my own personal groups, and I used to share a lot about it online. And my current, the past 2 years, my strategy, while I have posted a lot, I usually just document on my story, and now I'm gonna like actually make some content about this stuff. And whether it's the first thing I have to do by Andy Go and NGO Andy Go no a lot of other topics. So let's dive in. Wow, sorry. And I just ate some like buttered sourdough toast and put some like pepper and spices on it. And I think the pepper is in my throat, so that's good. Okay, first one. This is by a well-known, I think, like journalist. I think he got popular from being in Portland, and he was a liberal journalist, more left-leaning, talking about Antifa, and that's where it kind of got popular. But this reads, I hope people don't forget this. This is a Rasmussen report talking about the Democrats in January of 2022. And I guess it talks about Republicans too, but more the point is about the Democrats here. And it talks about their thoughts on, based on, if you voted Republican or Democrat, whether we should, this is January 2022. This is like peak COVID, Omicron's out. We're still in the midst of the pandemic. People are starting to speak out, and we're going through essentially an ostracizing people who did not want to get vaccinated. And for me personally, I did not get vaccinated. And whether you did or not, I'm actually not that concerned about it. What I care more about is if you ostracize people in your family, if you talk shit or forced people to make medical decisions anyways, and also that there was an experimental new type of gene therapy, not a vaccine, right? We changed the definition of what a vaccine was. These mRNA vaccines, while in development for a little bit, are not like the old style of vaccines out there. And we come to find out now that they're actually still in a lot of people's bodies and causing a lot of issues. So I digress. But just look at these sentiments of whether or not we should fine the unvaccinated, whether or not we should lock the unvaccinated at home, keep you at your house, listen to us. We know what's best for you. You're not allowed to go to your job. You're not allowed to go see your family. You're not allowed to go to events. But we are, because we took the thing and we got the jab. Send unvaccinated to quarantine camps. That's 5% thought that we should send the unvaccinated to quarantine camps. That's absolutely insane. Take children from unvaccinated parents. fine and imprison critics of vaccines. It's wild because when I was growing up and getting into the sphere, the health, anti-vaccine, medical freedom, individual rights people were always the lefties, always the liberals. And I share a lot of that sentiment. I think that people should be able to make their own decisions about their medical health. I think that we should not force people to get vaccinated just flat out. Where did we go in society where like medical rights and HIPAA is a thing where you don't have to disclose that, and not like you don't have to have a card that says you did the thing with something that was lied about? Like the vaccines were actually lied about. The studies were false. They fucked them up. And Pfizer specifically. And yeah, it's just wild to see this. And not to say that Republicans are saints and they do everything right. But just this sentiment of like, take away your rights. We know it's best for you. Listen to us, Big Daddy. Also like pay the biotech industries. Make sure you give them their money and make sure you get your boosters too. Like this is actually draconian. And I guess to like kind of finish this thing, because I want to keep these kind of quick. Honestly, like, fuck you if you ostracize people and force. I know so many people that are ashamed and feel like crap and are worried about their health and are scared for how this might affect them and their children, because they were forced to get an experimental type of gene therapy that we're realizing was lasting in tissues like 300, 400, 500, 600 days. It was going to the heart. It was scarring different tissues. It would not just stay in the arm like they said it would. And yeah, I just think that's flat out wrong. And if you did, I think that's up for you to like make right, honestly, because I think you should. And maybe you should like tell people you're sorry if you like ostracize people or talk down to them, or, you know, it's hard to admit that you might be wrong and that maybe, you know, I hope you realize that you were wrong. If you have thinking then, hey, like kudos to you. I get it. I've been wrong too in the past. This is a really big one. Okay. Secondly, all right, sick maps. If you don't know already, my nickname is actually Mapeo. I got this from some of my close friends in Buenos Aires because I love maps and we're going to talk about them. So this is something I'm really fascinated about. What's it say in the Earth's history spans 4.6 billion years, beginning with its formation on the cosmic dust. Easy molten stages cooled and forming oceans. Okay, I don't need to talk about this. Okay, let's look at these maps. So what are we looking at? We're looking at a juxtaposed map of Canada and America over top of Europe. And what this is doing, it's showing you the latitudes, essentially how far away you are from the equator, that they are comparable. And why I think this is super important to check this out if you know your history comes from these areas, or if it doesn't and you're just interested. But I live in Austin, Texas down here. I used to live in Charleston over here. These countries' latitudes are the same as potentially Cairo, potentially Israel, and way, way, way farther south than where my family's come from. My family's come from Russia, Ukraine, Poland, Germany, France, the UK, Italy, a little, yeah. And like, if you are German, and a lot of people share these roots, whether they're in the UK, look how far north these are. And why I think this is super important is, as someone who has lived in the South for a while, my skin, my genes, I'm pretty tan. I'm blessed with some, I think, Southern Italian genes, and I tan well. And, you know, there are some people that don't, and that's kind of beside the point, but we have so much more UV radiation if you're here than in the South. And even just like look in America, like if you live in like the Carolinas, you live in Southern California, we get so much more UV radiation than we're used to. And if you follow me, you know I'm a huge proponent of sunlight. Sunlight's good for you. You should be outside a lot. I guess why this comes up is, if we were to not live our modern lives where we're stuck inside all day under fluorescent lights and we are actually outside in ambient light all the time, I think, one, it would be hard to live outside because it's really hot here, and having AC makes you like able to deal with things. Imagine if you live in Austin, Texas, or in Florida. Imagine trying to just deal with the elements all the time, and it's like over 90 degrees here a good portion of the year, and that would suck, and that'd be really unproductive. But like, realize if you're from these countries up here in Canada, like, we just wouldn't get that crazy of sun exposure. And I think it's just fascinating to think like, hey, like, we used to live up here where, one, we used to live outside, but we used to get these like ambient light. And also we used to deal with these like massive, like dealing with the seasons where the winters are really long and the sun is out really long, and you have these really long days, and then you have the winters, which are dark a lot. So it's just fascinating. That's why if you're from these upper areas, you're more light skinned, you take in a lot more vitamin D from the same amount of light than someone is from like near the equators who don't get that much. And that's something that's wild, is people who live in Canada and the northern United States, if you are, dark skinned or like very black skinned, you should be wary of your vitamin D levels, because you have a lot more melanin in your skin, and it's a protective mechanism, because back in the day, your ancestors came from places that got way, way, way more UV and way, way more sunlight. And it protects you from the radiation, protects your skin, and it's necessary. And you actually gain energy from the sun. If you have more melanin, long story short, your body is able to produce more energy from sunlight than whiter people are. Power-ups, right? And so just be careful if you are living in the northern areas, like, realize like you need to be outside a lot. You need to be getting tons of vitamin D, because it doesn't easily absorb. So that's pretty cool. All right, let's go. What's next? Okay, so we have the follicular phase. We got some health stuff coming up here. Okay, let's do that, and then we'll go to maps. So this is something I did a podcast with Chloe Murdoch, who's like one of the experts in this, and does a lot of new nutritional dynamic eating coaching. It's really cool. So go listen to that podcast. It was just a few episodes ago if you want to get that. But this is something that I post about on my story every so often. And it blows my mind, the lack of knowledge that, unfortunately, a lot of women today, at least that I've been around in America, the lack of knowledge of their menstrual cycle, the different phases, menstrual, follicular, ovulatory, luteal, how that affects their well-being. How can they nourish themselves? What's actually going on in their bodies? How do we measure these and make sure that we are having an optimal menstrual cycle? And, whether it's birth control or IUDs, etc., how that's actually affecting it. And I posted once on my story about something like this, and someone responded and was like, what do you mean you might like change the way you eat based on your cycle? And I was like, well, there's different parts of your cycle. Like for men, I remember I said that I was fruit maxing and that would work for men, something of that nature. And she was like, well, like, why do you say that? And I was like, well, for women, you guys run on 28-day cycles. Your hormones change a lot. My hormones are pretty steady for, relatively speaking. And you might want to be careful. That might only work in certain phases. And she was like, why would the food you eat matter based on your menstrual cycle? And I was like, well, it's your hormones, and it's like the basis of your physiology. And she was still clueless. So I digress. So this stuff's fascinating. The menstrual cycle is probably one of the most beautiful things in the world. It is what produces all of us amazing humans. It is what makes women the powerhouses, the amazing, like this. I love women. And Paul Chek has a cool quote that is like, men are like trucks. Okay, you can run them through the dirt. You can like jack up the wheels. Suspension can be all over the place. It's like this old 1980s like truck. You just like bang it up. You park it outside. Women are more like Ferraris. You got to take care of them. You got to make sure the engine's good, the oil's good. You got to give them the best of the best, because their physiology is made to grow another human. And essentially, if you are I believe it's called, if you're a menstruating female, if your age is like 16 to like 40 or whenever, maybe a little older, you're menstruating, and your body is just primed to have babies. And it is basically your whole hormones is optimized for that. So it's kind of cool, during the menstrual cycles, all your hormone levels, they're going to drop low. Your energy's low, exercise intensity a little low. Maybe you just show up to the gym. Maybe we're walking a little bit more, being a little bit more careful with it. Iron-rich foods, make sure you get in your red meat. It's because you're going to be bleeding, right? And as you lose blood, you lose iron and all the other B vitamins, minerals, and different, compounds that are in the like red meat category is pretty much what you're losing. So making sure we get those. And then in the follicular phase, your estrogen and your it's FSH is follicular stimulating hormone. They rise, energy and creativity going through the roof. Interval training, high protein, kick ass. Let's go. You're ready to like kick butt, conquer the world. This is when you push your gym training a little bit harder, and you're eating high protein because you're moving a lot more. Stress is a little bit higher. Stress in the form of like how you're integrating into the world. In the menstrual cycle, stress is high too, but it's because you are like losing, whereas in the follicular, you are like gaining by using your resources, your energy to then go out in the world and do things. Ovulatory, estrogen peaks, energy motivation peaks, exercise, high intensity. Let's go. Support the liver. I'm not sure why you want to support the liver, but you should probably do it because this thing says so. And Sean Wells makes good content. And you can get pregnant, so be careful. You know, you're out, you're horny, you want to be doing all the things your body's like, let's go, come on, this is the time, let's do it. So be careful during that, and that's how you practice safe sex. Luteal phase, again, big part here coming in at the end. Progesterone rises, the energy drops. You want to do aerobic activity, foods rich in vitamin C. Cool. I don't really know the part about the food this time. But yeah, I often hear that the luteal phase is when women contemplate a lot and are thinking a little bit deeper and, you know, maybe second guessing things, and the energy levels are kind of lowering and things are, you know, figuring stuff out. Admittedly, I don't know a ton about the luteal phase, but I think that's what I was looking at. Yeah. Okay. So this goes even more in depth. Kind of talk about the different things you can do: gentle yoga, meditation, deep breathing. That's in menstruation. Reflect, reboot. Here's some cool supplements you can take: iron, magnesium glycinate, going to get the stores back up. Betaine and creatine, getting those iron stores back up. Cool. Follicular phase, rise and create. Let's go. Eggs, quinoa. You can stay away from quinoa. Active outlets like dance, hit, or creative hobbies. Cool. Let's go. Get out there, honeys. Do it. Zinc picolinate, KD3, CoQ10. Cool. That's great. Creatine, always. Just take your creatine. Come on. We know it's good for you. Ovulatory phase, lead meetings, pitch ideas, network. Cool. This is when you're going out in Austin. You're getting out there. You're meeting all the things. You're socializing. Cool. Okay. Kimchi. Love it. Beets. Hot take. Beets are a D tier food for me. Stay grounded with mindfulness and gratitude. Let's go. Get pregnant. And luteal phase, energy dips, prioritize self-care and stability. Cool. Yes, let's do that. Lots of, vitamin-rich foods, sweet potatoes, carbs, stretching, nature walks, restful sleep. Cool. Okay. We're going to bring those there. Saffron extract. Dope. High tea supplement there. L-theanine. Okay. Maybe not high tea. Like very useful. S tier. Saffron extract's dope. Magnesium glycinate. S tier. L-theanine. S tier. GABA. S tier. Creatine. Super S tier. Okay. Here's another map. Cool. That's it. Yeah. Menstrual cycle is really cool. So let's get into that. Okay. This is another cool one. Let's talk about more pregnant mothers. I thought this was fascinating because I feel like this is something that has impacted me in my life. And so it reads, pregnant mother's diet influence future child's taste preferences, recent study finds. Study is from Rev Nutrition. Does maternal diet influence future infant taste, odor, and preferences? I'll read through this for us. A recent scientific review concluded that what a pregnant mother eats already has lasting effects on the yet unborn child's taste preferences. In the researchers' words, converging evidence across various studies supports the functionality of fetal chemoreceptive symptoms by the end of gestation, enabling the detection of an extensive array of chemosensory cues derived from the maternal diet and transmitted to the amniotic fluid. In bold, the fetus effectively encodes these flavors, resulting in their enhanced acceptance after birth. This begs the question of how acceptable it should be for pregnant women to eat junk food, as this will predispose the child to those likely foods and probably not healthy whole foods. Currently, the social norm is that smoking and drinking during pregnancy make you a bad mother. I would say that's probably correct. Yet gaining lots of weight, far more than necessary for a healthy pregnancy, and eating unhealthy foods are socially very accepted and sometimes even encouraged. So This is fascinating. I personally, I feel this very common, and I always thought, in nature and nurture, true. I didn't look into this study of how they're actually conducting this, because for me personally, I've had a lot of like food aversions, we'll just call them, because of nurture. Maybe it's because of nature, meaning maybe it's because of the genes, maybe it's because of what was encoded in me. But like my mom didn't like tomatoes growing up, and not really any of us like tomatoes of my brothers. And maybe it's because she didn't like them. And I was like, ew, they're gross, right? You like do what your parents do. And we never cooked them. We never like had slices of tomatoes. And I still don't really like them. Like I have eaten one big tomato. I like bruschetta. I like salsa. But like if it's like really big, like pico de gallo, it's grown on me a little bit, honestly. I think I do like them. When you're like getting a burger, I like don't want a tomato, and I'm not just going to eat a tomato slice on anything. So I thought that was fascinating, and I think it's kind of interesting too. It begs the question, should we, if you're a mom and you're eating tons of junk food, and then I guess this predisposes your kids to want to eat junk food, and we can ask the question, is that bad? If this is true, which it seems like it is, probably not great. You're affecting your child's life in that way. And I bet you, here's the thing. I'm not here to shame anybody. I'm just trying to give more information. This is the whole thing with this podcast, is like, I'm just here to give more information so that maybe you can make smart choices. I don't have judgment. Something that happens very often in my life, not that often, but often enough that I note it, is that people will make, I don't know, judgments like, oh, you don't eat that, or oh, you're so strict with your food, you like work out so hard and all these things. And I'm super casual about this stuff. Like I work out hard. You're right. And I'm a very active person, but I take it super casually when I can't go. And like, I eat seed oils all the time, and I eat unhealthy foods a good amount, more than most people. You'd be really surprised. And I think you want to major in the majors and minor in the minors, and food is very important, but I major in healthy food, and it's okay if 20%, 30% of the time maybe I have a little alcohol. Maybe I have some P. Terry's. Maybe I eat the seed oil sauce because I love sauces, right? And I don't pass judgment on people. And that was kind of the point I was getting at, but it's wild. To finish that point, how much people think that I'm this like super optimized, dialed in, and I am. Right? Like the balance is what dials me in, and I could be way better. I promise you. Like I'd rather be closer to like 85-15, we'll say, and I'm at like 70-30 right now. But yeah, I don't judge people that do those things. I just try to provide in these conversations, in these podcasts, I just try to provide more information to people to help them better understand how their decisions affect them, if they do care to think about that and take that into consideration. So here we are. Next. Here we go. Next. Okay, another map. Let's do it. This has got to be like one of my, I wouldn't say it's my favorite map, but I really enjoy these types of maps. Like diving into these like different countries, areas in the United States, and how this affects. So like I'm from Pittsburgh, right? And a lot of people tend to group us into places like Philadelphia, New York City, Boston. They call us East Coast, but I'm like, Pittsburgh is like, it's like 4+ hours away from the coast. It's pretty far away. And I would say it is pretty true. It's more like Great Lakes area, but it's definitely not like Chicago, Michigan type stuff. It's kind of this new thing. And I think this is pretty true. Upper Appalachia. Yeah, Lower Appalachia. Love them. These are like the typical rednecks. Great people. We love them. The Deep South. I've always thought that I lived in the Deep South, but I never really lived in the Deep South, and I didn't. It's because I lived in the Low Country, which is Charleston, beautiful, beautiful area, and then I lived in Texas, which is essentially just from here, Central Texas. This is pretty cool. Texas has 6. Texas has 6 different places in here. This is the Southwest, which is true. There's nothing really out here. It's desert. There is the Southern Great Plains. True. Lots of farming. Amarillo, Lubbock. It's Plains region. There's Texas, Central Texas, which is like the hill country, which is like the areas below the hill country too. The Rio Grande, which is a very distinct kind of like topography, geography people. They have Acadiana. Yeah, I think it's called the Acadias. Acadiana. Pretty cool. Don't know much about there. And that has the Deep South in there too, up in the Northeast. Yeah. I like these types of things. I think it's cool how it like breaks these down. And what I talked about one of the vlogs I made earlier today was like how I really enjoy how you can view different topography and geography and how that affects the cultures there. Like you can see this line that drives through here. These are the Great Plains, and this is essentially where the Rocky Mountains form, right? And there's all these cities here, and then it goes up in the mountains. Cool. Yeah, and then like, California, huge. It has Cascadia, Northern California, huge, massive, cool area. Central Valley, where all the food gets done. I don't need to keep talking about all this stuff, but yeah, I just love maps like this. So if you like maps like this too, let me know. Okay, cool. I saw this recently. This is actually the most recent one of all these, and it's from a guy that I follow. He's a pretty cool guy. Tim, the biohacker, says, "What are the biggest sources of microplastics lurking in your home?" Let's dive in. So it says laundry, 300 million particles. This is actually something I'm aware of, but I don't actively like prevent it. And I think it comes from your actual clothes. Or it could be in your detergent. I'm actually not sure. Should we look this up? Okay, let's look it up. Where do the microplastics that are released from laundry come from? Microplastics in laundry water come primarily from synthetic textiles like polyester and nylon, which shed tiny plastic fibers, microfibers during washing, manufacturing, and use. The technology of heat and the washing machines, especially front-loaded washing machines, cause these plastic fibers to break off and enter the waterway system. Okay, cool. So what it's saying is that, let's get back to this, is that it's coming from our actual clothes. They're petroleum. They're made of plastic. They're going to get into the water, especially when they're heated. And I would imagine that you probably get those rub off on your skin, and maybe that's what's coming in, but maybe this is just saying it's getting in the water, and then that water is not getting treated properly, and microplastics don't really get taken out of the water system typically. Then it talks about plastic cutting boards. This is huge. Every time you're cutting stuff on plastic or like reheating things, you're absorbing those microplastics and nanoparticles. Ice cube trays, probably don't need to worry about that. Furnitures and rugs, yeah, okay, so like, and same with like flame retardants. And guys, also like with these things, with laundry, with cutting boards, it's kind of very similar. But furniture and rugs and like couches, they're not these like inert things. They get sprayed, and the things that they're made with are just like leaching stuff. And if you can get older stuff, like older leather, that stuff's always good. But also like they make healthy, conscious furniture and rugs, and if that's something you want to look into, you'd be surprised with the amount of stuff that leaches from them and gets thrown into your environment. Takeout containers, not that much. Toothbrushes, not that much. But there's one way bigger. Yes, keep swiping. This thing's huge. Almost there. Loose leaf tea bags, 1.53 trillion. 2 cups per week? Oh, okay. I was like, 2 cups of plastic per week? No, it's if you drink tea, 2 cups. So here are some sources here. Yeah, like guys, tea bags are huge. They're made of like tons of like the most shredded, high absorptive, light plastic, and you're putting it in boiling tea and you're drinking it right away. It's like the worst thing possible. So that's fascinating. Yeah. Okay, this is also a very rad one. So when can you make vitamin D? Vitamin D can be made only from UVB light above a 3 on a UV index. The time UVB is available will depend on your latitude, time of year, air pollution, water, etc. Okay, so this post is really cool. It goes into the different types of sun and how we get stuff from there. So let's talk about this specifically. So let's go over the types of light first, because I think this is really cool. So, okay, so let's first talk about this, UVA and UVB light. UVA is the stuff that's around all the time, available all times of year in all locations on Earth, appears when the sun is 10% in the sky in the morning. So, I believe, yes, UVA is just all the time. This stuff is really good for you. Boosts your melanin. This is your natural SPF and your antioxidant. It increases nitric oxide for better circulation and blood pressure. It raises your dopamine, serotonin, and beta endorphins, which help with mood, focus, pain relief. It enhances your T3 thyroid and leptin sensitivity, which is essentially how your energy and metabolism works. These are your main hormones. Curbs appetite via the MC4R pathway and increases fat burning. UVA is amazing. This is like, I'm going to go into a little riff here, but all light is good for you. It's not just vitamin D that's good for you. Light is the biggest stressor our body has had. It is the constant. It is what provides all light, all energy on Earth. And to think that this is not important and we could just be surrounded by lights like this at all times is comical, and it's insane. And it's to think that we're not part of nature, and it's not true. So UVB light. This is available near the equator all year round, midday. Not available above 33 latitude in colder months, appears midday when bioavailable. So where is the 33? So the 33 degree latitude is essentially here. So yeah, I mean, it's cutting through the middle of Texas, Southern California, Arizona, New Mexico, Louisiana, halfway through Mississippi, Alabama, Georgia, and barely gets Charleston in there. So if you are below there, you can get it pretty much year round. If not, in some of the winter months, you're going to lose that. Let's go back to this. Okay. Benefits of UVB light. Activates 33 plus vitamin D metabolites for hormones, bone health, immunity, cellular health, improves insulin and leptin sensitivity. Again, getting outside helps you, improve your insulin sensitivity and the way your body responds to food. Generates free electrons to fuel mitochondria metabolism. I talked about this earlier. You get energy from the sun. That's why you feel better after it. It boosts your ATP and structured water for energy, blood sugar, and cellular communication. It supports redox balances and lowers inflammation. Amazing, great stuff. UVB. We're going to go over this a little bit more, but let's go back into infrared light. So this is available all times of the year, all day long, from daybreak to nightfall. About 50% of the sunlight is infrared. People don't realize this. It is not just UVB and UVA that's important. This infrared light is everywhere. We can't even see it. And when you're outside, just ambient light, you're getting a ton of it. And people just don't, unfortunately, we're just misguided and we fear the sun. And this stuff is so important for your physiology, for hormones, for the way you act, for the way you act in life and take action and be a good human. This stuff is so important. You guys got to get it outside and stop listening to fucking dermatologists that tell you to sit inside under fluorescent lights all day. It's insane. Visible light. So this is stuff we can actually see on the spectrum, right? Infrared, you can't see. Visible light, you can see. That's when you see a little spectrum and it has all the colors, right? Red is at the lower end, right? And purple is at the top end. So visible light of every day, all locations, daybreak to nightfall. Benefits, blue light. So this is the blue light we talk about. Anchoring your circadian rhythm. When you get massive amounts of blue light in the middle of the day and most of the time in the sun, it is ramping your body up. It is telling you to dump cortisol. It is telling you to take action, to be creative, to go do things in the world. Therefore, whenever it goes out, it's telling you to go to sleep. Enhancing daytime alertness, cognitive function, mood stability. Green light promotes relaxation, reduces chronic pain, and improved moves. Oh, crazy. Like, it's not just, all these lights are super important for us. Red and orange light enhance mitochondrial function, promotes cellular energy production, and assists in skin healing regeneration. Okay, now let's dive into the months. I think this is pretty cool. So this is summer sun and tropical sun. Then we have winter sun at latitudes lower than 33 and winter sun at latitudes higher than 33. So let's go over what the summer looks like. As you can see here, there is this is telling you the different types of light throughout the summer sun and tropical sun, essentially saying tropical sun year round. So sunrise, infrared dominant, right? These are like the importance of why people go out in the sunrise and sunset, and it makes us feel great. It's because we're getting this infrared. It preps your skin and then it heals your skin. If you go see the sunrise, you will prep your skin to deal with the sun better that day. Studies show that it's true. And then sunset, if you get sunset on your skin after a day of a lot of sun, it actually heals the sun. And even if you're not, it heals from the sun, your skin. And even if you're not getting like sunburnt, it's still really good for you. It's helping your body heal and regenerate. Then we get these, when UVA comes in, this is when this is making natural sunscreen. And then there's this massive, and I believe UVA is on throughout the day, even in the sun. Available all times of year in all locations on Earth. Yeah, so the UVA is still constant in this middle portion. It's just showing you where the UVB window is. This is making vitamin D, individualized amount. Okay. I don't know what that means. Maybe that's because of latitude, time of year, pollution, weather. Maybe it's also talking about how solar calluses, and you should be careful, right? Like that's when you have to be careful about like how much time you spend. If you're darker, if you're black skinned, you can stay out there a lot longer, and you should to get adequate amounts of vitamin D. If you're fairer skinned, a lot less and then most people. And if you're somewhere in between, probably somewhere in between. And it all depends on how much of a solar callus you have built up and, where that goes, or rather how much you've done. Okay. And then this is the winter sun at latitudes lower than 33. Okay. So let's go over actually winter sun at latitudes higher than 33. So this is pretty much, to go back to this map, everybody above here. So in the winter, you get these negative effects. Essentially, you can't absorb as much. And if you saw earlier, like this is the 33 and this is the 33 in across the world. So you can see up, this is France, like Germany is way up here. So our bodies are actually used to being up there, but we don't get as much sun all the time. Okay, back to this. So latitudes higher than 33. At latitudes higher than 33, there is no UVB during the colder months of the year. The length of time without UVB is dependent on location. No UVB equals get cold and lean into darkness for melatonin, which takes over roles of vitamin D in the winter. Yes, this is huge. Think about it, guys. Our bodies, this is why I love these things. This is the whole part that I love about human physiology and evolution and where we live and all how stress affects our body, whether it's pregnancy, whether it's being a man, whether it's fighting, whether it's stress and working out and saunas and sunlight. Melatonin actually takes over the role of vitamin D when people get a lot more melatonin. And when you get more melatonin, when it's darker a lot more. And if you didn't have modern lights everywhere, in the winter, when it's 10 hours, 12 hours, 14 hours, 16 hours, 18 hours of darkness, you're making a lot more melatonin. And therefore, you're getting the benefits of the hormone, energy, circadian rhythm, physiology, healing that the vitamin D has in the summer, you get in the winter from that. And therefore, if you need those effects because you're living up in darker northern climates or southern climates, if you're in the southern hemisphere, you need to be producing more melatonin, which a lot of people aren't. So again, sunrise, sunset, lots of infrared, and UVA, again, super important for your solar callus. So when you're outside in the summer or winter, you're building up that solar callus so that you can be better equipped in the summer. Is something I talk about a lot, is like people get really burned in the summer because they're not building their solar calluses when it's not summer, because they don't think that in the winter they can produce vitamin D, so they shouldn't be outside. Further from the truth. Okay, now winter sun at latitudes lower than 33. Me, Austin, Texas. Let's go. At latitudes close to the equator, about 33 degrees or lower, UVB is present all year round, and in these locations, the UV index, and it's not a hard thing there, but it usually is. The UV index may be strong enough to support vitamin D production even during the winter months, especially for people with darker skin, more melanin, more natural sunscreen, slower vitamin D absorption. And so you have a smaller UVB window, essentially. Again, make more natural sunscreen, etc. This stuff is super interesting, and he's promoting his course here. This is Danielle. Okay, I like Danielle. Danielle, hopefully you're watching this. She makes great content. I forgot this was hers. Yeah, so sunlight's super important, and hopefully this post taught you a little bit more about how you can get it based on where you live, what it might do to help your physiology, and what avoiding it might do to hurt your physiology. So, okay, another health one. This is super cool. This guy, Dr. Peter Tierney, makes some really cool things like this all the time, and I love this. So let's look. We have, I guess it's good. Okay, so green. Okay, on the y-axis, which is green to red, we have like how good or bad things are. And on the x-axis, on the left, we see acute or short-term factors that can impact performance. And on the left, on the right, hopefully I said that, left is acute, right is chronic, and long-term factors that can impact performance. So let's just go over, we'll talk in little quadrants. This is super fascinating. Also notice the ones that are in blue. We'll talk about those. So he breaks it down here. So these are acute, short term. I guess he doesn't go, oh yeah, it's okay. So it's just it's acute ones and chronic ones. So let's go through acute. So these are factors that can impact performance. I think this is awesome. So let's go in the red. Let's start here. So illness, injury, true. Yeah, like you're out, you're fatigued, you're cramping, you have anxiety, nerves, poor sleep, all things that you should avoid. Then like, okay, things still bad, but not as bad. Distractions, pressure, changes in schedule, mood. Okay, so again, this is like performance in terms of probably mental, but also physical. And then we have your constant belief, your music, your primers, right? Huge things right there. Equipment, clothing, makes sense. Ergogenic supplements. I guess it means things that make you perform better in physical activities. And then the most important ones, appropriate fueling, pre and during, huge for performance. Okay, so this is definitely talking about like physical activity. Let's see. Okay, I'll split this into acute and chronic and consider a wide range of performance from endurance to ultra to team sports and very short duration sports. Cool. And he talks about tactics and strategies, hydration, breathing, mindset. Okay, these are huge. So things you can focus on. Let's look at the green ones first. Appropriate fueling pre and during. For me personally, what suits me best is I like fruit. I like honey. I guess I need to have make sure I have protein in. I like to have protein before whether I'm working out or playing sports if it's more later in the evening. If it's more earlier, I sometimes don't need it. Honestly, I do a lot better if I work out early in the morning, like lifting weights. I'm typically not strong, and I don't know, my body just like does not want to do it. And I think it's definitely somewhat psychological, and if I did it many, many times in a row, I bet you I would get way better at it. But like I like being active in the mornings, but not weightlifting. And I just don't really feel like I'm in the zone. And so, if I'm working out in the morning, I tend to want to, I get really lightheaded too sometimes because either I think I can not eat or I eat something small because I don't like eating before I work out or go hard. And I think I just need to eat a little bit more beforehand, maybe like some actual protein. Tactics and strategies. Okay. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. It's like, you got to know what the plan is. Is that plan effective? Are you going to fuck up? Like tactics and strategies is kind of huge to everything you're doing performance. Hydration, super important. Let's get that high quality water, salt. Breathing, very underrated here. As I take a deep breath. You can prime your system really well with some breathing activities and during activity too. Like if your breathing is messed up and jacked up and you're not taking control of it, it can be super bad. Mindset, cool. Yeah. And then interesting here, we have luck, obviously, menstrual cycle, not acute or short term, weather, environment. Yes, those are always in play. Okay, these are more chronic, long term. Let's start with the reds and then we'll work our way up. So illness, injury, sure. REDs, I don't know what that means. Improper loading certainly can affect performance. Poor diet, nutrition, yeah, you're eating crap food, it's going to make you worse. Bad coaching, yeah. Poor sleep, that actually affects me a lot more. Poor sleep and stress are huge here. Fatigue, again, I think health is just stress management. Hot take. Confident. Okay, long-term factors that improve performance. We have ergogenic supplements, pressure, confidence, beliefs, mindset, support network. Isn't this like this long-term? I mean, I guess, yeah, there can be acute and long-term. Long-term, adequate recovery, adaptation. Yeah, like take your time, load a lot. If you're not actively recovering and doing that over the long term, then your performance in the short term will be affected. Preparation and consistency, yes. Okay. This is cool, but he makes some other really good ones. Okay, cool. Back to the maps as we always do. This is a cool map. Number of days with comfortable weather. This is with a daily high temperature between 50 and 85 degrees. I'd say that's pretty comfortable. And the daily maximum dew point temperature of greater than 65 degrees Fahrenheit. And I think why this matters is what is dew point and why does it matter? Dew point is temperature at which air becomes saturated with water vapor leading to condensation. It's a crucial indicator of how wet or dry the air feels, and it matters because it influences comfort, fog formation, even type of precipitation expected. Okay, so if the dew point is above, is this just humidity? Okay, so it's saying it's 45 is extremely comfortable. 50 is dry and very comfortable. You see this 56 is comfortable. Okay, 65 is muggy and somewhat uncomfortable. and 75 is oppressive. Okay, so when the humidity is not too high, I guess, is it, and that's what affects. So like Charleston and these type of areas, it gets too humid here. It's yeah, and okay, so where is it most comfortable? We got that West Coast, baby, the whole way up in the Oregon, Northern Cal, San Francisco, Southern California. They're the best. Then we work into some places in New Mexico. They're pretty high. And then what is really taken most of the land in the yellow, and also like Northwest is pretty good too, is this belt of cities in North Carolina, Southeast. It's like Raleigh, Charlotte, Greenville, Atlanta, parts of Alabama, and then down into Texas, really comfortable there. And then there's also an interesting belt of yellow in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, top of Ohio, Chicago, parts of Michigan, and up in there. And yeah, I just think this is cool. It's like, where are the best places to live and where is it the most comfortable? Here you are. And what's fascinating here is like Florida isn't that much because it's too humid there. I'm pretty sure that's why. Dew point. Or maybe because it's too hot. That could be that too. Maybe that's why Texas is down here. It's pretty humid still down here in Texas. So, okay. This is a really good one.
They did an experiment with a group of women, and they put scars on their faces, and they told these women that they're going into a job interview, and the purpose of the experiment is to find out whether people with facial disfigurements face discrimination. They showed them the scars in the mirror. The women saw themselves with these scars, and as they led them out of the room, they said, we're just going to touch it up a little bit. And as they touched it up, they removed the scarring completely. So the women went into the job interview thinking that they are scarred, but actually being their normal selves. And the result of the experiment is that those women then came back reporting massively increased level of discrimination. Indeed, many of them came back with comments that the interviewer had made that they felt were referencing their facial disfigurements. And this is why I think this ideology of victimhood is so dangerous, because if you preach to people constantly that we're all oppressed, then that primes people to look for that.
Rad. So I like this guy. His name's Konstantin Kisin. He's a pretty cool. He runs a podcast called Trigonometry. I like him a lot. And what he's currently saying is, let's just pause this, that the power of victimhood and how that already having that victim mentality and having a negative view on how a situation is going to go primes you to actually make that situation worse. And he talks about how there's a lot of victimhood created in our culture, and it's celebrated. And I think that's the issue. Like, there are victims of this world, whether it's rape, whether it's being colonized, whether it's being tortured, whether it's being at the foot of a genocide. There's so much shitty stuff that goes on in this world. A lot worse stuff around the world than happens in America. We could listen to that. A lot worse things happen all over the world that happen in America. Not to say the things in America that happen, there's really crappy things, but have some perspective there. But when we preach this victimhood mentality, it teaches people to prime themselves for just a negative experience. And like, let's read some of these things and spur it up a little bit. I'm kind of drawing a blank, to be honest with you. The victimhood stance is a powerful one. The victim is always morally right, but neither responsible nor accountable, and forever entitled to sympathy. Cultural Marxism relies on a victim or victim groups to attack traditional society values as wrong and therefore in need of change, in which critical theory arises. I think that's pretty well said. It's not your fault. It's someone else's fault. It's not your personal responsibility. You didn't get the job because you had a scar on your face and they were discriminating against you. Oh, wait, you didn't actually have a scar on your face. And they actually didn't make any comments about it because there wasn't one on your face. Yet you, because you have this mindset of that you are already like downtrodden and you're in no luck and they're already gonna be looking down upon you, you put that in perspective and you actually experience a different reality. So the power that Konstantin shares here on victimhood and predisposing yourself to these types of thoughts, not that good. Okay, we'll keep it a little lighter here. This is freaking hilarious. Okay, stop. This is a company that I have tried before. They make a really cool electrolyte powder, and it's called Sport Drink. Here it is. Look, very cute. This is their like top running ad. And first off, Sport Drink is amazing. It's like one of the best electrolyte supplements. They are very against additives and refining shit, and I think it's pretty good. I've gotten this ad so many times, and I just think it is fucking hilarious and genius, because it's like, let's make something so absurd that it'll get people's attention and they actually might click on this. So let's look at this. Let's run this ad.
これはあなたの人生と下半身からの脳方法を変える飲み物です。スポーツドリンク very good for you.
How funny is that? How funny is that? Like, what? JD Vance with fucking sunglasses, and look at this, like, it's honing in on him in this little Asian anime, the dog twerking. We love it. We love to see it. Oh my God, that's amazing. Yeah, go buy some Sport Drink. That's all I really have to say. And okay, so I just wanted to share this too. So this is super fascinating. Says this reads, the Argentine Navy intercepted and blocked a fleet of 300 Chinese fishing vessels, primarily squid jiggers, attempting to invade Argentina's exclusive economic zone. This was yet another attempt by China's massive industrial fleet to strip the oceans bare. These vessels operate like floating factories capable of extracting thousands of tons of marine animals. China's distant water fleet is the largest and most destructive in the world, with a long history of illegally plundering foreign waters. Illegal, unreported, and unregulated fishing is an environmental crime, but where is the global outrage? Many organisms and media outlets remain silent on China's role in ocean plunder, afraid to call it one of the biggest offenders of marine destruction. It's time to expose the truth. Governments must take a stronger action to stop illegal fishing once and for all. Follow Seaspiracy for more ocean news. So I didn't actually watch Seaspiracy, but this is something I'm very passionate about. And the way that we are affecting the world around us. And if you've been following me for a while, you know me personally. I don't necessarily believe that like this climate change is something that we need to be all the fuss about. And I think, well, that's not true. Okay, I take that back. There are really a lot of things that we are doing to the world that's really bad for it. Namely, I think polluting our oceans is one of the worst things possible. And that has many different things, from microplastics to trash to overfishing to radiation in the water to fungicides, rodenticides, herbicides all getting leached into the water, etc. That stuff is crazy. And honestly, this is the point I brought this up, is like, it's way more nuanced. So we'll come back to this. But my hot take might be on climate change is that, like, I don't think that me eating cows is really the issue, concerning China is just blowing up energy production and coal through the roof and is crushing CO2 emissions. Like they're killing it. They're doing like, their numbers are, if you haven't seen this recent graph recently, maybe I can show it here, but their numbers are through the roof, and they're doing a lot. And Bill Gates is trying to get you to stop eating one of the most nutritious, flavorful, bioavailable forms of nutrition your body absolutely loves. Yet it seems like a lot of the other parts of the world don't really give a shit about it. So sacrifice your own health, sacrifice your own preferences, for the global people, because they care. I digress. But overfishing is so insane. Like, we only have one ocean. Well, there are several oceans, but we only have one body of water. And it's getting trashed right now. And whether it's monocropping agriculture, spreading all those different fungicides, rodenticides, atrazine, whether it's us polluting the water with pharmaceuticals and chemicals, whether it's overfishing and decimating certain fish populations in certain areas, or it's radiation leaking from nuclear power plants and, issues there. But yeah, we should take better care of our oceans. And China just uses these huge amount of boats, and they just like overfish so much of the world, and no one cares apparently, which I think is really bad because they're ruining it for everybody. Yeah, I thought it'd be cool to just go over some of these quotes. And I didn't even look at any of these. So we're just going to go through them and we're going to rip them. And that's how we're going to end this podcast. So 15 political lines that are too hard to ignore. The more corrupt the state, the more numerous the laws, by Montesquieu. Pretty fair, right? It's pretty interesting that when we first founded America, we didn't have that many laws. And the Constitution is, a lot of people that are like libertarians who want to go back to like just the Constitution because that's the basis of everything. And certainly we need more laws than just that. But, one is too much, seems to be. Probably we're there. When plunder becomes a way of life, men create a legal system that authorizes it and a moral code that glorifies it. Frédéric Bastiat. Those who claim to make you believe absurdities can make you commit atrocities. Voltaire. That hits pretty hard. This kind of, I guess this kind of goes back to one of the first points I made. This is what came to my mind. Well, one, it's like, this also comes up, atrocities. There's a lot of shit going on in the world. And when absurdities and dehumanizing others is awful. And we shouldn't do it. And it allows you to do some crazy things in the world. And something I shared in the beginning, right? If we go back to Annie and Go, about these views of the Democrat shared views of some people associated with the Democratic Party in January of 2022, whether it's finding the unvaccinated, locking them at their home, sending them to quarantine camps, taking their children, and finding and imprisoning critics of vaccines. You guys kind of fell for the T. You guys did it. You were the sheep, and you believed the absurdities, and then you committed the atrocities of telling people they should lose their jobs, yelling at people, shaming people, not letting people spend the last days of their lives and go to funerals with their close family members that passed away. Yeah, pretty fucked up. So, good job, Voltaire. The further a society drifts, okay, we're going to redo that because George Orwell is a goat. The further a society drifts from truth, the more it will hate those who speak it. Oh, boy, that slaps. There's a lot of people that don't like truth in this world. And when you tell them the truth, whether it's sunlight's good for you, whether it's, I think that telling 12, 13, 14, 15-year-old boys and girls that they could be in the wrong body, and that manipulating their body and maiming it potentially and giving it, castration chemicals and hormones, fake hormones, is going to solve their problems. I think that's drifting away a little bit from the truth. And sometimes the truth hurts. And sometimes when you use facts, people don't like it, and they will hate those people, and they'll call them names. They'll always attack them. They'll call them racist. They'll call them bigots. They'll call them X, Y, Z. And we're drifting away from truth. I guess that's all I'll say there. I Can't Believe What You Say Because I See What You Do by James Baldwin. Powerful there. He who lacks sex. Wait, is this what? Yeah, it has to be talking about sex, huh? He who lacks sex talks about sex. Who is hungry talks about food. He who has no money talks about money. And our oligarchs and bankers talk about morality. Interesting. It is dangerous to be right when the government is wrong. Voltaire. Another hard-hitting quote. Yeah. If voting made any difference, they wouldn't let us do it. Might have to disagree with you a little bit there, Mark Twain. The oppressed are allowed once every few years to choose which particular representatives of the oppressing class will represent and repress them. Powerful quote. Karl Marx. Not my favorite. The best argument against democracy is a 5-minute conversation with the average voter. That's bold. I mean, he's got a point. Most people are pretty dumb. Doesn't mean I don't think they deserve a vote, but we should agree on that. Political issues are too serious to be only left to politicians. So true. I think as a voting American, you should be Slavoj Zizek. I've heard him speak once with Peterson. I don't really know him that much. I know he's a lefty, kind of like socialism, which I'm not a huge fan of, but I agree with some of their things. And yeah, we should all have opinions on this. I think it's wild that there are like these shunned conversations that you can't have. You can't talk about transgender kids. You can't talk about immigration, illegal and legal. You can't talk about refugees. You can't talk about the Ukrainian war, now sending billions of dollars there. You can't talk about the Israeli-Palestine conflict. You can't ask questions about it and the billions of dollars we send to each side there. You can't talk about the pharmaceutical industry. You can't talk about lobbyists. You can't talk about our deals with China. You can't talk about judicial systems and legislative systems and gerrymandering and you just like care too much, you spend so much time on this. Like, nah, man, the world is a lot, and I'm sorry you can't keep up with it as well as I can. And you just, that may come off as condescending. I don't mean it to be that way. I guess more so my point is like, don't be mad at me because I like exploring nuance. And I'm happy to try and like dive into these conversations with you, but like don't hate on me because I'm just exploring and sharing ideas to maybe help teach people a little bit more about it. And maybe it's a spark that they need to dive into these things a little bit deeper that inspired me to do it as well. In a time of universal deceit, telling the truth is a revolutionary act. More of that. War is when your government tells you who your enemy is. Revolution is when you figure it out on yourself. Napoleon Bonaparte. War is when your government tells you who your enemy is. Revolution is when you figure it out yourself. True. When injustice becomes law, resistance becomes duty. Damn right. Thomas Jefferson. Yeah, this is from the Kaizen Executive. Let's give him a shout out. So that's it, guys. I appreciate it. Thank you so much for sticking around. If you did, I kind of want to do more of these, and I like talking about stuff like this. So it's another podcast in the books. It's 11 p.m. I should probably head to bed here soon. So thanks for watching. If you made it this far, I appreciate it. What other topics would you like me to talk about? My biggest passion is exploring these things, sharing new ideas, and I love so much. If you would just share with me a little bit, like, I don't even care if you share it with people. Cool, share it with friends, but like, I just want to hear that you guys enjoy this stuff as much as I do, and it really, really fuels me to make better content. So if you enjoy some of the videos that I make, whether it's on health, whether it's on conspiracy theories and Brigitte Macron being a man, whether it's on pesticides, rodenticides, regenerative farming, whether it's like health tips and about movement, about nutrition, about breathing, about sleeping, those things, like, yeah, man, I love when you talk about that. Can you talk about those more? Cool, let me do it. Whatever topic you want to see, put it here in the comments, wherever you can, DM me it. I would love to give it to you guys. So if you are seeing this on YouTube, you should follow me on Instagram. It's my name. And if you're seeing this on Instagram, you should go check out my YouTube and maybe subscribe. So when I post cool videos like this, you'll get notified. So that's it, guys. I appreciate it. This is Evolving Thoughts, where I dive a little bit deeper into the nuance behind a lot of things that affect our culture, our physiology, our spiritual health, our mental health, and all things pop culture, hot takes, and as always, evolving my thoughts, diving into the nuance, and sharing my perspectives with you. So you might be interested, and we'll share yours with those around you. Thanks, guys. Peace.